Hello. As Mayor of Canmore, I'm pleased to speak to you on behalf of Council to share with you an update of some of the work that was undertaken in 2023 and to talk about where we are heading in 2024. In the past, these reports to the community have been a list of our noteworthy accomplishments and the exciting things planned for the future. Well, I'm proud to stand behind the incredible work that the Town of Canmore is doing and will continue to do. I'm taking a different approach this year. Rather than detail all the initiatives that we've been diligently moving forward, I'm going to take this opportunity to speak to you about where we are in our journey together as a community. After all, every one of us knows what it feels like to accomplish something. But the sweetness of the accomplishment is felt more deeply when we understand the why we are doing what we are doing and the effort it takes to get there. The sharing of what inspires the work is as important as the work itself. These stories are what makes Canmore exceptional. In 2023, we implemented a new strategic plan that guides the town's goals and priorities through 2026. We looked at community needs and values as direction for our goals, and so as we move into the future, we are prioritizing livability, the environment, and relationships to guide our work. Let's start with our first strategic pillar, livability. In November, after the Court of Appeal dismissed the Town of Canmore's appeal of the Land and Property Rights Tribunal's decision, Council voted to adopt the area structure plans for the Three Sisters Mountain Village and Smith Creek as originally presented. The November decision marked a difficult time for some in the community, while a celebration for others. Given the size and scope of this development that will take decades to come to fruition, we were simultaneously confronted with issues pertaining to affordability, human-wildlife coexistence, understanding the sheer volume of development, and of course, the future of our community. Regardless of where residents fell on the debate of the area structure plans, one thing was abundantly clear. People care about Canmore. The passion for the community comes not simply from being here, but rather from what people need to invest, sacrifice, or forego in order to stay here. Everyone pays the price to be here, and the love of place makes it worth it. Of course, not everyone is able to make it work due to the obstacles that many of us have to overcome just to be here. My family has been at those crossroads so many times, often not knowing if we'd be able to make it work. The passion that residents express for their community reinforces that Council's goals are well placed in addressing the most significant concerns that people have. When it comes to livability and addressing the housing crisis, we are taking bold action to ensure that Canmore is a place where all residents can thrive. We have approved the Palliser Trail Area Structure Plan, which will see at least 1,000 units of non-market residential housing built. We are also investigating the recommendations of the Livability Task Force, which include a plan to limit the growth of tourist homes, a tax structure to incentivize purpose-built rental accommodations, and a tax structure to incentivize primary residence occupancy of homes while paying for building of the more affordable housing that we need. A big part of livability is our transportation mode shift, whereby we increase opportunities for people to walk, bike, or take public transit. Rome Transit on our local Route 5 remains free, and in 2023, ridership soared. 311,377 rides were taken, an impressive 73% increase from the previous year. To help accommodate riders, we increased bus frequency on both weekdays and weekends, and we are set to launch a new seasonal route to the Quarry and Grassy Lakes as soon as a new bus can be secured. We're also proud to have completed improvements to the West Bow River pathway between Rundle Drive, Bow River Bridge, and Van Horn Homesteads, which is one example of improving alternate transportation connectivity in Canmore. The focus of the work on the pathway was to improve safety for all users on a year-round basis. We fixed sight lines and excessive grades. We widened the path and replaced a bridge. And perhaps most significantly, We pave the pathway so that we can provide maintenance all year round to help get people where they need to be. As with any project, we can't please everyone. However, some of the most important benefits of the improvement of the West Bow River pathway include creating accessible space for people with different physical abilities to access connections to the town center without needing a motor vehicle. I should note that I was overwhelmed by the response of people who supported the pathway when opposition was raised by some. And now that it's done, every week I get someone stopping me to say how much they love the pathway. Looking ahead, to improve livability as well as our access to pathways and roadways, we've created incentives for our Affordable Services Program participants, including an e-bike incentive program. Additionally, we have expanded the financial thresholds to qualify for the program to enable a greater number of people the opportunity to access multiple community supports and services. Beyond the Town of Canmore specific supports that are offered to program participants, approximately 20 local businesses and organizations are partnering with us to provide even more benefits. Canmore is a community that helps neighbors. Enhancing livability is all about building community, supporting families, and protecting our community fabric. Turning to the second of our strategic pillars, environment. Much of what draws people to this mountain town has to do with the landscape and the environment. And so we are taking bold action to support livability, to create a community where all residents can thrive, and therefore it only makes sense to take the same bold approach to address the town's impact on the environment and ways to reduce human-wildlife encounters. The residents of Canmore truly are stewards. Going back generations and generations, the residents of this family have been entrusted with something of great value to care for in order to maintain it for future generations. Each of us are here only for a short time in the big picture, and so we have to do what we can to ensure that people and wildlife can thrive in these surroundings long after we leave. You might say that in some sense, we're all visitors to this place. Some of us just stay a little longer. Building on the recommendations listed in the Human-Wildlife Coexistence Report, published in 2018, the town has since developed a fruit tree removal program, fenced green spaces, and successfully advocated for wildlife exclusionary fencing along the Trans-Canada Highway. But we want to do more in order to truly and effectively advance human-wildlife coexistence. In October, we asked the public for perspectives on actions that the town can take to improve human-wildlife coexistence. These perspectives were added to a review of recent data and literature, as well as working with technical experts to create the human-wildlife coexistence implementation and action plan. The plan establishes a prioritized list of actions and recommendations, including recommendations for how we can work with and support other agencies in our shared effort to protect the environment and wildlife. We will be able to see the impacts of our leadership when it comes to human-wildlife coexistence, but there are also impacts affecting us that we can feel. It is no secret that the effects of climate change are being felt with hotter winters and summers, longer and more devastating fire seasons, and unpredictable flooding. To take decisive action in addressing climate change and to prepare our community for a sustainable future, we have developed a climate emergency action plan, which will be presented to Council in mid-2024. The plan will serve as a 6 to 10 year guiding document that will direct our actions to best serve the community in protecting us from the effects of climate change while doing our part to reduce our contributions toward it. Though 2013 is a little over a decade ago, the impacts of the devastating floods that year remain very much a part of our memories and community fabric. Critical work in the Cougar Creek debris retention structure continued through last spring and summer. In order to complete the project, however, additional funding was necessary. After the province of Alberta approved a grant of $16.7 million, and Council approved the use of up to $8.3 million in capital reserves, The project is on track for completion this year. When it is done, the structure, constructed as a rock-filled embankment dam with upstream and downstream faces soiled and seeded, will be able to reduce the peak flow of water during flooding events and reduce the quantity of debris flowing downstream, thereby reducing risk to thousands of lives, critical infrastructure, and billions of dollars worth of private and commercial properties. With an increased awareness of the impacts that climate-related events like flooding, wildfires, and extreme heat can have on Canmore, Council made it a priority to establish an emergency alerting system that can support residents and visitors with the information they need when they need it most. In the summer of 2023, we began using Voyant Alert, the same emergency alerting system used by the Town of Banff and the MB of Bighorn. Now, if and when we find ourselves in a situation where the safety of our community is at risk, we can share critical updates immediately across a number of platforms, including the web, app pushes, phone calls, emails, and more. Connecting Bow Valley residents through the same emergency alerting platform keeps us all safer, more informed, and ready to act. And of course, we have also been active in bolstering our emergency plans and adding plans for additional types of emergencies. While we have been engaged in fire smart activities for years to protect our community, recently I've also been advocating for increased provincial action regarding fuel modification outside of municipal boundaries to mitigate the risk of wildfire. In summary, we are simultaneously taking action to enhance human-wildlife coexistence, protecting this environmental gem in which we live, taking measures to protect us from changing climate, and having the plans in place to deal with emergencies that arise, including having a system in place to communicate with residents and visitors in times of emergency. On to the third strategic pillar, relationships. Making sure that Canmore is a place where all residents can thrive and establishing the town as a recognized leader in managing the human impact on our environment is only possible by building and maintaining strong, respectful, and authentic relationships with our community and partners. We're communal creatures designed to be in community with each other. Accordingly, strengthening relationships within the community is essential. Further, cultivating relationships with neighboring communities and respect for the traditional stewards of this land is an absolute must. Also, growing relationships with other levels of government can only serve us well. We believe that it is important for our residents to feel heard and that they understand how their voices impact our decision-making. Over the course of the last year, more than 2,600 people participated in online and in-person opportunities to provide feedback on several initiatives, including those I have talked about today. Looking ahead, we are finding new and innovative ways to connect with residents from all ages and backgrounds to help us shape the present and future of the places, services, and programs that matter to them the most. Council and administration have the responsibility of being the caretakers and representatives of our municipal spaces. And we want to ensure that we are working to support a community that meets the needs of our residents as much as it can. In 2023, we worked with employers and employees to understand our local labor market and identify how we can improve economic resiliency and capacity. In 2024, we will work with stakeholders and residents to reimagine how people can access, gather, and interact with a network of public spaces to support a thriving mixed-use downtown over the long term. Bringing people together to share knowledge through engagement opportunities always serves as a reminder that the history of Canmore is both complex and impressive and looks to a future of this town that is innovative and recognizable. Canmore is located on Treaty 7 lands and is also home to the Rocky View Métis District 4 within the Battle River Territory. We continue to work closely with our Indigenous neighbors as we advance efforts towards truth and reconciliation while honoring the original caretakers of this land. In September, we worked with community members from Beneathny to host a round dance for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and our community was gifted with an honor song from Elder Rod Hunter. In June, we hosted representatives from Yarhe Nakota, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Blackfoot Confederacy for National Indigenous Peoples Day. To bring together all Treaty 7 nations in one place is a testament to the work we are dedicated to doing. Both the CAO and I have met with the 3 Stoney chiefs on multiple occasions, as well as the Tsuut'ina chief and the Siksika chief, and we are committed to continuing these meetings and conversations on a regular basis. Part of what creates relationships is comfort. Comfort in the space, comfort in showing up as you are and who you are, and comfort in knowing that you will be met with dignity. I strongly believe that our public spaces should be safe and welcoming spaces for everyone. We have made significant efforts to ensure that we have visible markers at our facilities to remind each person that they are welcome to enter a safe and caring environment. We have added signage to our washrooms to improve inclusivity. We proudly fly a pride flag at various times throughout the year. We carefully maintain the integrity of our pride and transgender crosswalks. And we have added the artwork of Gordon Wesley from the Yarhe Nakota First Nation in Bighorn, Kiska, Wapton to the hallways of the Canmore Civic Center. It has been essential work in our spaces to broaden the representation of people whose cultures and voices can go unseen, unheard, and unnoticed. But we are just at the beginning. The Bow Valley boasts French and Filipino populations, as well as a growing numbers of people from all over the world who are excited to visit and live here. Our community grants program supports local initiatives and local regional events that promote a circular economy, a sense of belonging, community affordability, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. Through the grant program, our community members have greater access and opportunity to celebrate their individuality and our interconnectedness. Now, here's my challenge to all of us. Be part of the solution. Regarding livability, continue to be there for your neighbors. Let's work together, the municipality and businesses, to implement recommendations of the recently released labor market recruitment and retention strategy. Perhaps consider if you have some space to rent out for someone who is looking for a home, and continue to encourage our efforts to increase affordability. With respect to the environment, let's focus on the total cost of housing and build sustainably to reduce consumption and costs in the long run. For those who are able, consider using alternate forms of transportation. Of course, respect the wildlife corridors and sign up for Voyant Alert. As for relationships, I challenge everyone to buck the trend happening around the world and be voices of positivity and not negativity. Solution-focused rather than simply being critical. Also, let's not tolerate intolerance. Let's make Canmore a bastion of kindness and civility in a world that is increasingly neither of those. We have a vision for the community, and we're working towards it together. We envision a Canmore where one can afford to live, raise a family, retire, and age in place. One where we leave a legacy of non-market housing to work towards affordability in the long run. A place connected by multiple options for getting from A to B in a safe manner. We aspire to be a community that is the world leader in human-wildlife coexistence and a place leading by example with respect to reducing our climate impact and are safe from future emergencies through infrastructure enhancements as well as emergency planning. Also, a town where interacting with our Indigenous neighbors on matters affecting us all is the normal course of things and not an exception. A welcoming community that embraces place as well as newcomers and visitors while respecting the traditional keepers of the land and those who have gone before us. That is the journey we're on together. That is the vision we are working to make a reality. And that is our story. Thank you for your time and attention, but more importantly, thank you for your passion for Canmore.